We're here today, brother. We're here today. Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Stories for Experiences. I've been looking forward to this interview. We've got Cooper in our chair and he's got quite a story, but what we'll do first is just give a shout out to Miss Barbarette. I really want to thank her for hosting this and letting us in her shop to do this haircut. It's good to see the Barber family getting together and getting that little bit of support for what I'm doing. So thank you, Miss Barbarette, Nina in Wollongong, and we'll start.
Amen.
Alright, take this off quickly, brother.
Bro.
So quickly, just your haircut. We're going to be doing skin fade,
Skin fade, box it off,
a
little bit of a trim.
off the top.
Yeah,
Done, brother, done. So, I want to know, right? I just want to know, how about you start with your story and where you want to start? You wanted to start with life beforehand when you were playing footy. Let's start there, bro.
So, grew up in Marilla, lived there, most of my life, and then, around that area as well. I started playing footy when I was 8 years old. I did start earlier, but I wasn't interested. I didn't like footy at the time. So I started at 8 years old. From there I started playing, and as I got older, I started wanting to take footy seriously. And I started playing footy, kept on playing. Then as I went older, I went to a sports school, for footy. I went and had my first. So one of the teams that I was playing for, I played there under 18s, and then because of COVID at that time too, I didn't end up leaving there to go to a different club. So they had the under 18s, and they had a third grade side. So I played the first year with them. We went undefeated the full season, and then we lost the grand final. So that was always good. But from there, I went to a different club. Playing footy, wanting to increase my career and start making reserve grade, first grade, and then go from there. So when I was 19, I went back to one of the clubs that I played for recently. And so that was then when I first started wanting to focus on footy. Around that same time, I was a halfback. So playing with a bunch of older men who they love footy, but their aim is just to take somebody's head off. Because I was a halfback, I always had a target upon my back. So I suffered a few head knocks throughout my career. 2020, I had maybe 4 or 5 concussions within the space of like a month. So I had these concussions. The doctors, I went and seen just the local GP. They said that you're fine to play. I ended up playing that weekend, and then one of the ladies who she helps out with the all the rep teams and everything down here. She got me in contact with the NRL Dragons, their head doctor. So I went and seen him. He put me through to go get an MRI scan. Just to the normal protocols, see what's happening. So I went and got that scan done. I left that place. I went and got my hair cut, and then when I finished that haircut, the doctor or the MRI scan people, they ended up calling me back to come and get another scan done. So I went back down. I went and got the scan, and then when I was walking back through the shop to go home, the doctor, they ended up calling me saying that they found a tumor at the back of my head. You got to get to hospital right away. I called mum. Mum wasn't really answering the phone. She was on the phone with one of the doctors.
Yep.
She ended up picking me up. She was crying and everything else, and we went into the hospital. I was in the waiting room for about an hour. Then when I finally got in, the neurosurgeon, he came and seen me, and he talked about surgery and everything that we could do to try and remove the tumor.
Yeah.
And so he said, we'll try and remove this tumor, and then we'll try to get you to play footy again. A week later, I had my first surgery. It was a 10 to 12 hour surgery.
Yep.
From that first surgery, they couldn't remove all of the tumor because of where it was. So they removed what they could. And, from that first surgery, I was in ICU for a little while. I think I was in a coma for a few days. And then from that first surgery, because I was laying down flat for so long, my eyes popped out of my head. So that's the reason for the damage in the left nerves of my eyes.
Yep.
Because the nerves are damaged. And, from that, I see double vision. So that's why I wear the eye patch.
How long have you been, sorry?
No, all good.
How long have you been dealing with double vision for?
2020, January, February, I think 2020, April.
Yep.
So the double vision's been, there since that. Yeah, I've been wearing an eye patch since then. So I had that first surgery. After that surgery, because I was, vomiting and, the headaches were so bad, I ended up going in for another surgery. So I was then rushed into that. And then pretty much in that same time, I went back in for another surgery. So I had 3 brain surgeries. I was in hospital for a month. And then after that, I was then sent to a rehab center when I had to relearn how to walk again. I was in there for another month. And this is during COVID. So, there's
a lot of red flags to go through as well.
Yeah, bro. So, I was going through what I was going through. And then, because it was, during COVID, there wasn't a lot of many people that were allowed in. So mum was coming in, when she could, but there was a stage there where, I was on my own. So the first 2 months, the 3 surgeries, and then the month to learn how to walk. And then I was out of hospital for about a month, just getting back on my feet. And on my 20th birthday, I went back into hospital because I was vomiting still quite a lot. I was vomiting, 4 or 5 times a day. And, the headaches were, quite bad. So I went back into hospital. I ended up having another 3 surgeries.
Yeah.
So I had 6 brain surgeries. And on my last surgery, because, I was vomiting, so much, the doctors ended up putting a shunt in my head, which drains the fluid that was building up.
Yeah.
And, the shunt's been there ever since that as well. The 6 surgeries. And when I had the shunt put in, that's when, the doctors, they finally said to me, there's no chance that you'll be able to play, footy again. And, at that time, there wasn't really a lot of thoughts going through my head because it was COVID, nobody was playing footy. And, I just wanted anything to, stop the vomiting. So, I had that done. Around that same time, I went and seen the doctors again a few months later. When I sort of recovered, quite a bit, I went and seen the doctors again. And February 2021, I ended up having another surgery where the doctors took a nerve out of my leg and they put that nerve into the side of my face.
Whoa.
Yeah, so from that first surgery, the nerves in the whole left side of my face were damaged.
Yeah.
So the whole left side of my face, I can feel it, I just don't have movement into it.
Yep.
So I had a nerve taken from my leg and put into my face. And that's when, the doctor said to me, your results have come back as stage 4 brain cancer. They said that, there's nothing that, we can really do. They said that there's a chance of chemotherapy, there's a chance of radiation, but even with that, it's just a chance of prolonging the situation.
Yeah.
So they said like 10 years max on like chemo, or like 1 year, like if you like 1 year at the least if you were to not go ahead with it.
Yeah.
So then I was put into a little bit of a difficult situation. For me, my whole life was rugby league. I never done drugs. My main focus was footy.
Yeah.
And that sort of come crashing down, and I didn't really know what to do. And so I was hit with a setback when I had my surgery, but then I was hit with another setback after that setback. So I went through with that. The doctor said what they said. Around that same time, because it was COVID, the barbers weren't opened. One of my mum's friends, her son, he was cutting hair just at home.
Yeah.
So mum got a hold of her, and they invited me out to come over to get my hair cut. So that's when my relationship started with with them.
Yeah.
And I was getting my hair cut. I got my hair cut once, and then around that same time that the doctors said the diagnosis, I went and asked for a haircut again, and he said, "Sorry, bro, I can't cut your hair because we have a games night at our church." And he invited me out to the games night. So I went out there. Me myself, not necessarily growing up in a religious household or around that environment. They invited me out. I went out there. They then invited me back to the Sunday service the next day, or the following day after that. And it was then when I listened to the service, and at the end of the day, I put my hand up, and I invited Jesus into my life. And since that, I ended up that following Monday, or Tuesday, I ended up getting a call from one of the doctors up in Sydney, and what they said to me was, would you like to take part in a medical trial? So I had a chat with them. Me and Mum, we drove up there. I had a chat with them about the trial. They told me that the medical trial, it's a new trial. It's it's used on different type of cancers to stop the growth.
Yep.
But they said that it's never been used on the head. So they said, there's the risk.
There's the trial. There's the trial. So we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So they said, there's the risk of, anything. But they said it's a medical trial. I'm the third person in the world on this trial. Third person in Australia on this trial. And I'm the 21st person in the world on the trial.
Yep.
The medication is stopping, the growth of the tumor and leaving it where it's at. And since then, I've been in church now for about 19 months. That same time that I've been on the trial, and it wasn't until I allowed God to come into my life that although at that time for me, one door was shut, but God shut that door in order to open up another door.
Yeah.
And that door has brought me to where I'm at now. And where I am now, I would not be able to do it on my own. I'm so forever grateful for all that God has done upon my life, and for me to be in the situation that I am, to be able to share my testimony, my story with other people, and to help a lot of people as well, because there's a lot of people who they struggle. There's a lot of people who struggle with depression, anxiety, sicknesses. There's a lot of people who they don't necessarily know how to overcome situations. And, you know, I was put in a situation where, you know, I did not know how to overcome. And, you know, for me, you know, to be where I was and then to come and allow God to come into my life, it wasn't until I surrendered, you know, that, you know, God opened a door upon my life. And, you know, that door has, you know, been the best blessing that I could ever ask for. You know, I'm so grateful and so thankful. And, you know, just with everything that's happened, you know, for, you know, God to be able to use me as, you know, a vessel, but to be able to use me as, you know, a testimony to help somebody else is, you know, awesome. It's awesome. I am very, very grateful, very humbled. You know, there's not a lot of people who, you know, there's not a lot of people who have gone through what, you know, I'm sort of going through or going through, but they don't necessarily know how to overcome their own situation.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, you know, just to be able to, you know, be used for that, you know, that little bit of inspiration that, you know, it's not me, but, you know, it's God who's using me. And, you know, it was never me, because, you know, for myself, you know, I was living a life of, you know, yes, I wasn't doing drugs, yes, I wasn't doing, you know, drinking alcohol or anything, but I was still living a life for all of the wrong things. And, you know, at that time, I didn't quite understand what I was doing. You know, I didn't quite understand, you know, the depths of what I was doing, how, you know, bad it truly was. But, you know, it wasn't until I was put into a position that, you know, God truly changed my life.
Yeah.
And, bro, it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, bro, it's been, you know, the last 19 months, it hasn't been easy. You know, I go up to Sydney every 3 weeks. Me and Mum travel up there every 3 weeks. Got my doctors up there, and, you know, every other appointment. But, you know, my life pretty much consists of, you know, church, my doctors, and, you know, work. I went back to work maybe 6 to 8 months ago. Well, actually, no, I went to work over a year ago now. I work at a primary school, but I do before and after school care.
Yep.
But not doing, you know, morning in the moment. Just just all the afternoons. You know, a few days a week. I just sort of getting into it. But, you know, that's been awesome as well. And, you know, because I do wear an eye patch, me working with kids,
It can be a bit brutal, I reckon.
yeah, bro. Me working with kids, it sets me up to be able to, you know, put up with what, you know, other people say. You know, because kids, they're straightforward.
Yeah, there's no filter there.
Yeah,
man.
so they're straightforward. They say what they say. You know, just the first thing that comes to their mind, they say it. And, you know, for me to be able to, you know, be around kids and, you know, to, you know, see that, you know, kids love having me around, and, you know, to be able to, you know, listen to what they say. You know, it doesn't really bother me what, you know, other people say. You know, a lot of people, they do know what I've gone through. A lot of people, they don't know the extent to what I've gone through. But, you know, when, you know, somebody sees me, you know, it's always a good conversation starter.
Oh, what
are you wearing an eye patch for? And, you know, then we can, you know, get to chatting, and it's awesome.
So you've gone through quite a lot, and there's one thing I really want to ask at the moment as well is, what is this trial you've gone through? You know, like this experimental trial. What exactly is the what is that? Like what is the is it a sorry, I'm stumbling upon my words, but is it a different form of chemotherapy, or is it what is it that they're doing?
So with the trial, I don't necessarily know what it is. It's like numbers, letters, everything else. But the medication, I take my medication in the morning.
Yep.
And what it's doing is it's stopping the growth and the spread of the tumor.
Yep.
And that is pretty much all I know about it. There was, some things in the paperwork, but I'm not really too sure. But all I know is that it's a medical trial. It's not chemo, but it's a different form of
radiation.
Yeah, it's like a different form of whatever it is. But so I have my Sydney appointments every 3 weeks. And then I have my MRI scans every few months, heart scans, eye scans. There's all these different scans that I go through because it is a medical trial, and they want to see what it's doing to my body and everything else. But praise God, nothing has. Every time that I go and get a different type of scan, everything's been good. Everything's been well. My body's responding to the medication quite well.
Yeah.
And there's not really a lot of information on this trial, and I think that's why, because even when I first spoke to one of the doctors, he said there is a trial, but the chances of you getting on the trial are quite low because one, it's never been used on the head, and they only take a few people each time.
Yeah.
So that trial, when I first spoke to the doctor about the diagnosis, he said the chances of you getting on the trial they're quite
very slim.
Yeah, they're quite low. And then 2 weeks when I went back and seen him, he said I've spoken to him, there's no chances at all of you getting on this trial, so let's start
looking at other options.
Let's start chemo for next week. And so he said we can start chemo on the Tuesday. I'm not too sure about the time frame of everything.
Yeah.
But he said we can start chemo the next Tuesday. I went up to my local hospital and I did a blood test, done that, and then around that same time, that was when I got that call, and from there, just myself, growing every day. We're just in the middle of it's called a revival. We have a guest preacher from America. He come here yesterday morning. He was here last night, and we have a service tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that's been a blessing. That's been awesome, and for me, it's just growing closer and closer to God daily.
Yeah.
And it's one step at a time. We can't, a lot of people, they're in a rush, but at the end of the day, they're running nowhere.
Yeah.
Everyone's in a race, and everyone's trying to beat each other to the finish line. But at the end of the day, we're running a race, but we don't know where we're running to. And for me, it wasn't until I sit back, and then I sat back and redirected my path, and just continuing to overcome, to grow, and to be able to be used to help other people, which is awesome.
Have you gotten many opportunities to help someone else through what they're going through if it's similar? Or has your experiences, has it helped someone? Because that's a big thing, is that what you've gone through and what you're currently going through, you can use that to help a lot of people.
Yeah, bro.
A lot of people, and I feel like that's something you want to do. You've already hit upon that subject, but I actually feel that within you, that you really do want to help people through whatever they're going through with what you've gone through.
And because even when I first got out of hospital and I was not allowed to play footy no more, I was thinking on it, and I wanted to get into motivational speaking, and so motivational speaking was something that I wanted to do, but I didn't know the extent of the motivational speaking that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And when I first got saved and started going to church, we had a concert up in Hurstville, and I went up there, and we had another concert in Sydney where we had one of the pastors in our church. He's in the Fairfield Church. His name's Pastor Tony Huang. And so when I was in high school, he come to my school, and so he told us his story, and he told us a little bit about his story of what he went through, growing up in the streets of Cabramatta, living that gangster lifestyle.
Yeah.
He was right in the middle of that that lifestyle. That was the lifestyle that he was living. And one day he was given a flyer to one of the churches, and he within his own situations, within his own lifestyle, he got saved and invited Christ into his life. And now he's a pastor who preaches the word of God. He's got his a pastor in one of the churches in Sydney. And when I seen that, he come to my school 5 years before, and then when I seen that he was a preacher in a Christian church, and what he does, he goes around to schools and he tells his story of what he was doing and where he's at now. And when I see what he does, how he goes around to schools and how he's used as an example to help other people, I've seen that, and from that moment, I've always wanted to be able to do that, to be able to use my story to help many different people.
Yeah.
And there's like every Thursday, well, not every Thursday, but every second Thursday and every second Saturday, we go into here at Wollongong, we go into the mall, we hand out flyers, we speak to people about who God is, and we share our testimonies on our lives. And there's many people that I've spoke to, there's many people who I've invited out, there's many people who have come, there's many people who have been touched by my story. And there's been a lot of people who have although they haven't gone through the same extent, but they've gone through
stuff.
Something similar, or something that they don't sort of know how to overcome.
Yeah.
And
just quickly, thank you, Nina. I forgot to charge my clippers, so I'm just going to use yours quickly just to finish off this fade. Thank you. I forgot to charge my clippers, bro. I remember to charge everything else but my clippers.
Always the one thing, eh?
Always one thing.
Nah, that's awesome. But no, bro, it's been awesome. It's been a blessing, and I'm very, very grateful. And yeah, bro, to be able to help other people. There's a lot of people on my, a lot of the boys with footy, a lot of people that I have on my socials. Everyone's going through a different situation. Everyone's, they're all going through something where, they don't know how to overcome, or they're stuck, and, they're over their life, they don't want to live no more. There's always somebody out there who, they're just struggling.
Yeah.
And, I was in that same situation, and, I was in that same situation, and although I wasn't at the end of my life, because I've never really been a person who suffered with depression. Yeah. I just sort of, suffer with it in my own way. But, when I truly, allowed God to come into my life, that was when, doors opened.
Yeah.
And that was when, although I'm still going through something, but God has made a path for me to be able to go through what I'm going through.
He's giving me the strength to persevere.
Yeah, bro. And, it's like just continuing to overcome. It's not my own understanding. it's not, there's nothing that I can do, but it's, I'm no longer walking by, my own sight, but, I'm walking by faith. And, I'm going to continue to, keep walking, in that direction. Just whatever, is there for me in the future. I'm ready, and bro, it's one day at a time. A lot of people they're running, full speed, but it's one day at a time.
I've heard that phrase quite a lot growing up.
Bro.
I grew up AA, and I used to, cause of, around my parents and all that. And all I've heard my whole life is one day at a time, you know. So it's nice to hear that in a completely different way, It's not some alcoholic telling their war story of one day at a time, It's nice to hear someone who just sees that it's just one day at a time. It's just one day at a time, and that doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. Everything is just one day at a time, minute at a time, 1 second at a time, 1 hour at a time.
And even, for me, it's always been one day at a time. Not always, but since surgery, it's been one day at a time. But there's a verse in the Bible that says, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's, troubles are enough for today. And as I just said, a lot of people, they're running a race 100%, where they're focused on what's to come rather than focusing on what's right here, right now. And bro, one day at a time, continuing to persevere, continuing to overcome, enduring, and God's got his hand upon, my situation.
Yeah.
So, bro, it's, it's crazy because, I was never, I was always, I'm always somebody who, I like having a conversation, but I just, sort of just kept to myself.
Yeah.
And, rugby league, that was a door upon my life where I didn't want nothing to, I wouldn't have given up nothing to, stop playing rugby league. Rugby league was, my life. And, as I look back on, what I've gone through and, my situation and everything else, it wasn't until I was struck with an obstacle, or it wasn't until I went through something that rugby league was no longer, something that I could do. It wasn't until, rugby league was taken away from me that I come to know who Jesus Christ is. And
your path too.
That's right. And what, rugby league, that was my life. Rugby league was, everything that I ever wanted. But it wasn't until that, that door was closed that God opened up many, many other doors.
Yeah.
And, continuing to open up many, many doors, for, not just for me, but for, everyone. We're all going through a door, and, some doors are closed, and, it's a blessing that that door is closed, because, that door, it will, lead to a new door. And when one door is closed, another door's opened. And, the doors, they'll just continue to keep opening. But, that comes down, to us.
Whether or not you're ready to walk through that door at the time as well, man.
That's right. It comes down to us. And, we are the ones who, miss out on every opportunity that, we don't take. And, there's a lot of people out there who, they don't walk through the doors because of the fear, the worry. They worry about what, other people think. We live in a very, judgmental society, but we also live with a lot of people who they care too much of what other people think. And, for myself, I was one of them, people as well that.
Me too.
Yeah, so and you're always caring about what other people think, but I I don't need to care what other people think, because if I'm, walking in a direction that is, benefiting my life and, glorifying God, I don't need to worry about what other people think because, they're going through their own things as well. And I don't know if, because they're going through their own things, they like to take that on other people. But it's not until you sit back and, each time you focus on somebody else, you lose sight on what you want to do. And if you're putting all of your energy into worrying about what other people think, well then you're losing complete sight, you're losing complete direction on what you want to do because you're too focused on what other people think. But, at the end of the day, when you go home, that person, they're not there with you. That person, they might see you on a day-to-day basis, or, they might, stalk your social media pages or, write things or whatever, but, they're not with you every single day.
Yeah.
And, the more that you, put your time into somebody else, the less time that you're giving yourself, time to grow and, time to, overcome.
Yeah.
And, we're not here for a long time. And then if we're not here for a long time, then you're, spending, most of your time worrying about what other people think.
Apologies for the water.
Oh, good, bro.
Just drenched you. I'll just grab that
Just
out quick.
A little bit, eh?
A little bit, not bad. Not bad. I got a bit sidetracked. It was like just spraying too much water. There we go.
Yeah, bro. Just one day at a time. Don't worry about what other people think. It's hard, but we can overcome.
Yeah. It's not still dripping, is it? Even better.
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, bro. Growing up in the area of, well, not necessarily Wollongong, but Shellharbour.
Yeah.
Was good.
I was going to ask what it was like growing up around there.
Yeah, so very, I was always had my family. The area that I grew up in was a housing commission area. So I grew up in that, area my whole life. Whether that was, Warilla, Warrawong, Barrack Heights, there's all these different areas. But, they were all quite similar. But no, it was good. There was family, friends, and, especially me then, me and my cousins growing up, we always looked up to the older boys there.
Yeah.
And,
I'm just going to go quickly about that much there.
Yeah, that's good, bro.
Yeah, perfect.
So, we always looked up to the older boys and, I always wanted to do what, the older boys were doing. But, as I grew up and, I, sort of realised that, a lot of them guys, they were sort of, doing nothing with their lives. Whether it was drinking, smoking, that was all the things that they were doing. And, as I grew up, I understood that, that's not the life that I wanted to live. And especially if I was to, ever, have kids or, married, get married and then have kids and, everything else, that's not, the life or, that's not the example that, I'd want to show, my family.
Yeah.
And yeah, bro, my whole priorities just, they soon changed. As I started to grow up, and then, as I started to, see things as they were. And now, the situation that I'm in now, and, the position that I'm in now, and, what I'm doing, it's just not necessarily focusing on, any of that, but, for myself, it's, growing, closer, to God within prayer, reading my Bible, and just not not doing what the world does,
Yeah.
or not living to what the world finds attractive.
Living to what you find attractive
That's
and what
right.
you see, what you want to do.
Yeah, that's right. And like for me, there's a lot of people who, they live a life that they live, and by their own way of living, or by their own what they do something, and then they wonder why they're sort of going through something that they've sort of put themselves in that situation to do.
Yeah.
No longer living for this world, but
Living for yourself.
that's right, and being an example to others. And it's been a blessing. It's been awesome. It's been awesome. It's I am very, very grateful for although I am in a different situation to a lot of others. It's definitely opened many, many doors upon my life as well.
Man, when I was 21, I didn't even have half your attitude. Like, the attitude you have today is astounding. Absolutely astounding, dude. And like, hats off to you, man. Like, it's hitting me right in the heart today, hearing all this, and it's quite beautiful to hear. It's really like, you got an amazing story, man.
And even for me, like, especially when I first got invited to a church service, I was there, and I was still quite I was still young, but I was sort of not obviously where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And so I went there. I didn't necessarily understand, I didn't necessarily know, but I come to realize that I'm looking at all these people that they're in church. I'm looking at all these families, parents, the older ladies, the men, the kids there. I'm looking at all of these people, and I'm looking at their life and what they've gone through. And the people that are in church, church isn't a place for people who are happy and they have the best life. It's for people who they come broken, they come with nothing. There's people in our church who they were drug. There's people in our whole fellowship within Australia, America, New Zealand. But there's people who gangsters, killers, drug addicts, drug dealers, many different backgrounds, alcoholics, gamblers, and seeing what God has done in their life and where they're at right now, that it made me realize that if God has done that in their life, well, He can do that in my life as well. Yeah. And I started going to church. Sunday morning, Sunday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday we're in town, Saturday we're in town, Friday we do some games nights, and we get a lot of people who are they might not believe, or there's a lot of people who they might not care, or they might say, oh, go away, or they'll try to do something or whatever. But we also get a lot of people who they do respond, because a lot of people, although we are in different, we're all different people, and although we're all going through our own problems, a lot of people, they're all going through the same problem. And for us to go out and speak with people and share with them what we've gone through, and you know what, you know, God has done in our life, you know, he can do the exact same thing for you as well. And you know, that's why we do what we do. And it's, you know, we're there to be used to help a lot of people who they're going through something and they don't necessarily know how to overcome. But there is true healing, and you know, there is deliverance in the name of Jesus. And that, you know, at that name, although a lot of people, you know, you know, they hate that name, or a lot of people they may not believe, or a lot of people they you know, just straight against it. You know, there is healing and there is deliverance if, you know, you are willing to, you know, accept that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they don't want to accept that. And you know, it's just, for us, it's one day at a time. It's, you know, continuing, you know, to believe, to receive, and you know, that God will open, you know, doors upon, you know, my life, our life, to you know, be used to you know, help other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's it's eye-opening. You know, it wasn't until you know, my nerves in my face were damaged, it wasn't until my eyes were damaged that my eyes were truly opened. So, and that's one thing that I always think on, like, you know, like, yes, you know, my nerves are damaged, and you know, yes, I'm going through what I'm going through, but it wasn't until I went through what I went through that, you know, my eyes were opened. And yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome, bro. It is. It's awesome. But it's you know, like, for, you know, like, there's like, because even, you know, anxiety for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people suffer with anxiety. I don't know the full, you know, because I've never really suffered with that, but a lot of people, they suffer with that. And although they might be going through something like anxiety, you know, for them, it's so hard to overcome the battle.
Yeah.
Depression, like, people, they go through being in their own mind, and they're trapped within their own thoughts. It's like they're in a prison cell. It's like they're in a prison cell of their own mind, and they don't know how to overcome. But you know, there is like, when I speak to people about, like, what they're going through, you know, I speak to them about what, you know, they go through, and you know, I'll chat with them and I'll talk to them. And you know, for me, you know, just to be able to be, you know, an ear for them, to be able to talk to me, you know, with what they're going through. You know, they might be going through something, and you know, they might be struggling. You know, for me, just to be able to be there, to be able to, you know, support them, or to be able to help them, you know, is another you know, big blessing. Yeah. You know, for me, because there's a lot of people who, they go through their own silent battles. And you know, like you said about, you know, sitting in the barber chair, and you know, that's when, you know, people have one-on-one conversations. But you know, there's a lot of people who, you know, they might not sit in the barber chair, but they're still going through their own situation, and they just need somebody to talk to. But a lot of people, they're not willing to
open up.
Yeah, and they're not willing to allow people to be able to, you know, speak on, you know, what they're going through, or they're not willing to be able to, you know, just be the ears to listen to somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, for me to be able to do that, and you know, share the good news to them. Grateful, very grateful.
So we're coming to the end of our interview, right? And there's one question I want to know as well. You know, and this one, I'm not sure if this one may be difficult for you or not. But where's your health at now? You know, like, do you have more time? Because you've said you're at stage 4, you know, and I just want to know, you know, like, what's life gonna look like soon? You know, like I want to know. Yeah, I want to know.
I've got no idea. I've got no idea what will happen. But you know, as I said before, you know, I walk by faith. I don't walk by sight.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that, you know, God will heal me from this sickness. You know, I believe that, you know, what I'm going through now, it's helping other people. You know, yes, I am going through something. You know, I don't know the extent of what I am going through. I don't know, you know, obviously, you know, the main thing is that it leads to death.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of things lead to death.
Everything leads to death.
Everything leads to death.
Every path for a human leads to death.
That's right.
You know.
And you know, everything leads to death. And you know, a lot of people they have, you know, more time than other people. A lot of people they have, you know, less time than other people. But you know, in saying all of that, I believe that you know, what I'm going through, that yes, I'm going through it. Although there is that, you know, risk of, you know, everything else. You know, our body is, you know, an amazing thing of how, you know, it handles stuff, and you know how we, you know, overcome, you know, so many things. But I don't necessarily know what is to come.
Yeah.
But I'm ready. You know, I'm ready to face it head on, because you know, I'm not alone, and it's one day at a time.
One day at a time,
One
brother.
day at a time.
One day at a time. That's all you can do.
I love one day at a time. I don't know why you'd want to take it any other. You know?
It's the way my life has been for years. You know, like I've gone through my own struggles, and we'll keep that off camera until one day I'm ready to tell my own story. But yeah, there's only one day I've done it, and that's one day at a time. You know, one way I've done it, and it's one day at a time. You know, shit. What are the times I'm surviving day to day at a time? Sometimes bills are high. So I take that attitude right and strike. One day at a time. Tomorrow will be different. You know,
Right.
and it usually ends up working out. All right.
Tomorrow's troubles will bring their own day.
That's it, man. Now I've got a little obsession with eyebrows. Right? Do you mind if I line the top of your eyebrows? I've got a tiny obsession with it. You don't have to let me. I'll leave it if you need to, if you want me to.
You don't think my eyebrows are a little bit small?
Oh yeah, no, you're probably right. I just obsess on
Yeah,
them.
we'll shave them. There'll be nothing there. But even when I was playing footy, I used to have a mullet, and so I used to have the mullet, and I used to get my eyebrows slit.
Yep.
And then you know, I sort of went through what I went through, and then you know, my haircut changed, and you know, I got rid of the mullet, and you know, my eyebrows they're there, but they're barely minimal. They're barely minimal, so you can't really just break from what I've
I
got.
won't touch it today. I
Yeah.
won't touch it.
I don't think so. Maybe not. Maybe next time.
It's usually the darker. Yeah, I've just got a weird obsession with them.
Do you slit your own?
Nah, man. I'm like probably one of the worst examples of a barber. Like I care less about my hair and care about everybody else's. Me, I like having messy hair, and like I just, you know, generally look as I do.
Yeah.
But I'm also growing my hair long at the moment, so you know, it's not like I'm not going without a haircut. I'm just working towards the haircut I want with a lot of patience.
Yeah.
I haven't had long hair since I was living in Wollongong, which is, you know, I was 16 at the time when I first started living here, 15, 16. And, you know, I haven't had long hair since then. So I've been wanting the long hair for a while, and finally got the patience to grow it. My eyebrows are, yeah, I don't really look at mine. I look less at myself and more at everybody else.
Yeah.
It's like being a chef, you know, like the chef that loves cooking for everybody else, hates cooking for himself. They'll go home and eat like chips and pizza.
I've seen that, did I notice that?
Yeah, if I just need to find a mirror, I'll see if I can find it. Ah, there's one right there. Well within sight. And I'll show you how you look around the back and the sides, my brother.
Let's do it, bro. Awesome. I'm waiting for a haircut. Put it up.
Bro, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate it so much. So how's that looking?
That's awesome, bro.
Nice and faded, bro. Maybe tiniest little bit there, but that'll just be one tiny correction. I really want to thank you for letting me do your haircut today, man. It's actually been a complete and utter honour. You know, like the honour is all mine. I'll show you the back quickly again. Yeah, there we go. She looks a lot better.
Sweet.
Man.
Thank you, bro. It was awesome. I seen the comment and I was like, oh, true.
I had to take the chance. I had to. My gut's been telling me I have to do this, and like I tend to follow my gut feeling nowadays. So, you know what? We're down. We've done it. We've done it. You know, this has been a phenomenal interview. I think I accidentally moved the camera a little bit. But anyways, I wanted to thank Nina for having us today at Miss Barbarette's in Wollongong, and make sure you guys click that like and subscribe button at the end of this video. I hope you guys watch it. And that's a wrap. That's a wrap right there, brother.
Eye patch is back on.
Eye patch back on.
They say this is a big rich town, but I live in the poet's heart. I live in the